And for more analysis now, let's bring in Sky News host Laura Jays and political strategist and close friend of Scott Morrison's, David Gazard. Welcome to you both. Great to have you both with me on this historic election eve weekend. Laura, the coalition is looking at a record loss of 22 seats. It's just extraordinary. What do you put this poor result down to? Is it just the Prime Minister, or are you looking at a range of factors from the fact that they didn't even have candidates in place in New South Wales right on the eve of the election campaign?
It's an extraordinary result, isn't it? And there's so many aspects to this. So let me quickly get through just a couple. I think what this shows is the campaign didn't matter. I think that Australians made up their mind about Scott Morrison a long time ago. For the last year, I've been following focus groups. I even sat in on them. And even at the height of lockdown, after lockdown, when things were going pretty well, what always came back was the bushfires. So that was still hurting Scott Morrison 3 years later. There are a lot of aspects to this. Let's talk about the teal wave first. It's happened on the East Coast around Sydney and Melbourne. There is a reason why these independent candidates are teal, and they are women and they're smart women. They've had careers before. The independents were honing in on something that the Liberals have refused to acknowledge for quite some time, and that is women voters. And I'm not talking about more funding for domestic violence shelters and some of those agendas that are really important. I'm just talking about they're having a level of invisibility. You know, they talk about they don't want quotas because everything's merit-based. Well, there's women in these seats, I believe, Shari, that are looking at, at the Liberals and saying, hang on, what do you mean merit-based? Women are actively being blocked in getting into the Liberal Party. Look at how New South Wales pre-selected their candidates. They waited to the very last minute. Yes, they had some women in there, but they weren't in winnable seats. Look who's lost their seats. Is 6 women who have lost their seats. Now, that's the next generation. So the women issue, I don't think, can be understated and cannot be swept under the carpet. Women don't just vote for women. I get that. But I think there is a real impatience among Liberal, not just progressive Liberals, but conservative. I mean, look at the seat of Wentworth. Yep. We're talking about bankers. We're talking about hedge fund managers. We're talking about, multi-millionaires who, you might call them the elites. Some people might call them the elites. They're no longer looking at the Liberal Party.
And it is telling that the people Climate 200 chose to run as the candidates were predominantly female.